Hello, and welcome to this Manage Protect webinar, Understanding Copilot Agents, with special guest, Microsoft MVP and expert in SharePoint and Copilot strategy, Daniel Anderson. Hello, Daniel.
Hey there, how you going?
Good. I've seen Daniel present a number of times at various events, and it's always an informative and entertaining session. So I'm really looking forward to today. While everyone's settling in and getting a cup of tea, I would like to acknowledge we're having a bit of trouble there, but while we're fixing that up, would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands and waters that we're recording on, and acknowledge the elders past and present. We have a lot to share with you today, and if you'd like to ask any questions, please do it in the Q&A box at the top in the top bar. And without any further bureaucracy, I'll pass over to Daniel. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your coming and sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you very much, Claire, and hello and welcome everybody that has joined in us in the session live. Nice to see you all there. Now, before we do kick off, if I can get using the reactions in the Teams bar across the top, the little smiley face with react, just give me some thumbs up and things like that across the screen so that I can make sure that everybody can see my screen, and plus it's good seeing all the thumbs up and everything fly across the bottom. Not raise your hand, the little react button. So all you people that are raising your hand, bring your hand down and just give us some thumbs up using the reactions.
There's a little smiley face in the top bar.
Which is good. As Claire said, we do have the chat and we do have the Q&A open. So if you do have questions throughout the session, either use the chat and the Q&A, and Claire and team will monitor that throughout the session. If we don't get to your question, we'll do our best at the end. We do have a lot of content to go through, lots of demos and things like that. If we don't get to it, we'll come back to you after the fact as well. Now, before we get on to all of our demos, when we're talking about let's say AI transformation. Now, I know transformation is an overused term sometimes, but we need to start to think about when we're looking at delivering business results, regardless of whether it's with Copilot or not, we need to make sure that we do have this executive type of sponsorship. So the functional and business leaders, which I would say all of you attending this session or watching this recording, I would class you as functional and business leaders. You've taken the time to sit through and join this session and also watch the recording. So you as an individual and then the entire organization as a whole are really pivotal in the success of any AI implementation. The user enablement is really important. Right? So making sure that we have our leaders, everybody on board to drive that change of behavior and that change of habit. Now, on to agents. Now, we can think of Copilot as like Copilot chat as giving every staff member or individual really a personal assistant. Now, agents are a little bit different. So agents are all about giving you as a person and the entire organization new digital colleagues. So think of the potential of you being, and we'll talk about this in a minute, being the manager of agents. You might think that that's a little bit into the future or futuristic, but things like that are starting to happen right now. So agents never forget. You give it the rules, they don't cut corners, and they always deliver the same standard, consistent output. So think of those repetitive tasks, templates, document creations, processes that we need to go through. We want a consistent output all the time. That's where agents really, really excel. Now, why does it matter? Well, organizations are really experimenting at the moment, not just with Copilot, but AI in general. But they're struggling to, and you may be in this situation as well, they're struggling to know where to start or know how to implement or get the best results? Or even then, how do we scale those results? Now, again, agents do provide that structure and that repeatability that we need in certain circumstances. And it really is about moving from individual productivity to organizational wide intelligence. Now, very, very briefly on the agenda and the topics, we're going to cover what Copilot agents are. There's a whole spectrum of different agents, from really simple agents all the way through to really complex agents. And there's different tooling around how we create those. Then we're going to jump into a lot of show and tell. So a few demos, and we're going to get to the end of the session where we're actually going to build an agent in a couple of minutes. Well, that's the challenge anyway. So what are Copilot agents? Well, Copilot agents are really AI-powered digital colleagues, and they carry out these repeatable tasks and workflows inside of M365. But we can access data that is outside of Microsoft 365 as well. So as I mentioned, unlike Copilot in a chat-based scenario, which helps individuals with on-demand type of things like summaries or drafting or things like that, agents are really embedded into business processes. They follow your rules, your instructions that you give it, and they deliver consistent outcomes every single time. There is that key distinction, just to reiterate. Copilot, individual productivity, drafting, summarizing, analyzing. Agents, more around your organizational digital colleagues, more structured, more governed, and more repeatable. Every agent has an anatomy, some core concepts that every agent has. With Copilot Chat, that's grounded in basically everything that I have got access to as an employee of my organization inside of Microsoft 365. Teams chats, Teams meeting minutes, emails, SharePoint documents, everything that's inside of M365. Whereas agents are what we call grounded in data. It's where the agent pulls the context from. So it might be documents, it might be Teams, it might be OneDrive, it might be even external CRMs. But we give our agent that knowledge, that grounding data, that context. Super important. We also instruct and give our agent rules. So this is really where the brain of the agent lives. It's the playbook. It's what the agent does repeatedly. And the rules that it follows over and over and over again. We can also have triggers and actions. So when we think about autonomous agents, we need a trigger for our agent to light up or wake up. What kicks off that process? Does an email land in an inbox? Does a document get uploaded to SharePoint? Does an entry get added into Salesforce or Dynamics? That's the trigger for our agent to wake up and go and do its work. We then have some actions, some tasks that we want it to do. Do we want it to add items to a spreadsheet? Do we want it to send an email? Do we want it to go and get information from our product catalog? And then we deliver the outcome, the consistent, repeatable results every single time. So I mentioned about the spectrum of agents. So on the left-hand side here, we've got our simple retrieval-based agents. We're retrieving information more like a Q&A from the grounding data. We reason over that data. So think a controlled document or policies and procedures. Things like asking, oh, how much leave do we, or what leave are we entitled to? What's the process of applying for leave? Those type of retrieval items. We then have our task-orientated agents. So we're taking actions when asked. We're automating workflows. We're replacing those repetitive tasks. We might be comparing documents against compliance manuals. We might be comparing proposals against each other. We might be comparing resumes against a job a job requirement. And then we've got our more advanced ones, which are our autonomous agents. They operate independently. They can dynamically plan. They can orchestrate other agents. We want to create our agents that are subject matter experts, responsible for individual tasks. And that's where we can orchestrate them to come in and operate independently and create that autonomy. You may have seen this guy or heard of this guy, Sam Altman, head honcho, OpenAI, was quoted recently about, we're going to see very, very shortly a one-person billion-dollar company. So it's probably already happening now, where we're seeing the 10-person companies with billion-dollar valuations. This was some time ago. And when you see what we can do with agents, you'll understand that there is the potential for a single person to manage multiple agents to autonomously do individual tasks that run your business. And that moves me on to this topic here. You will become a manager of agents. So rather than you managing humans, you may have a little army of agents that you manage. You control what they do, you bring them into certain tasks that you're doing, and you become and you manage what they can and the outputs of what they do. And everyone is now a manager. They are the future of the workforce, where everyone will be managing their own. We are evolving from using AI as a single tool to this multi-level orchestration that we will see ourselves managing. And the evolution, I guess, towards that management, you can see in our current state, and this is rapidly changing, we're in this situation where we've got our AI-assisted, human-powered workflows, and AI is really handling that grunt work, while us as humans focus on that strategy and decision-making. Now, in the future, AI agents are going to take the lead while humans oversee and guide their work. Eventually, I can really see everyone having tens, if not hundreds of agents working for them doing different tasks. Now, before we move on to the demos, a few little tips here on identifying opportunities for Copilot agents. So we want to look for tasks and those things that we do more than once. So if you do it more than twice, that is a perfect candidate for some type of automation. We want to target high friction, low satisfaction work. So the work that you don't enjoy doing is usually the work that's the easiest to delegate and hand off to an agent. We want to go where the data already lives. So we're inside of M365. We've got a really strong SharePoint information architecture. Yes, we do. We love SharePoint. So that's where our data lives. But our data might live outside of M365. Let's say we're using HubSpot or we're using Dynamics or Salesforce. We can integrate into those third-party systems if that's where your data lives. We want to start small. Let's start in one role, one department. We don't want to try and build an entire agent for our entire company. Let's build specific task-orientated SMEs and then scale those horizontally. We want to map the trigger, the action, the outcome. So all good agents is a chain of cause and effect. What wakes this agent up if we're talking about autonomous agents? What actions is it going to do? Start writing down the process of these things, and then we can start to map out how our agents can be created. Let's now get into building some agents, looking at some examples of different scenarios, and let's build one live. Now, we're going to jump out of slides. Let's make up some time. We're going to go through some agents first. So I'm going to demo a couple of different types of scenarios first. All right. So we're going to start with the easiest of agents, and that is around inside of SharePoint. Now, if you do have an M365 Copilot license, then you do natively have the capabilities to create agents inside of SharePoint. Realistic and really with one click. All right. Now, you can see I'm in a really simple policies library. Now, if you do have a license, we do have the ability up the top here to create an agent. Or we've got our little Copilot icon in the top right-hand corner here as well. Now, I want to create an agent, a policies agent. So all I need to simply do is click Create Agent. Now you can see in one click, this has been grounded, what's called grounded. This agent is only looking at the files that are inside of this document library, all right, called policies. We could open the agent, but I want to edit this agent because I want to give this a new name, right? So the anatomy of an agent, regardless of where we're building it, we've got a name, we've got a description, we've got our knowledge. In this case, we're looking at our sources. When we get into Agent Builder, we'll look at knowledge as well. So we've got our, let's call this Copilot Policy Agent, something really good. So Copilot Policy Agent. We also have the ability to give this agent an icon. We've got the purpose, which SharePoint has actually written for me already. We can change this. So it's an agent curated based on the content from the selected file sources. If I flick over to the sources tab, you can see that this has been grounded in the policies document library, but we could, if we wanted to, add additional libraries. Okay, so you can see here, we can source from the entire site. We can source from document libraries, folders, or even individual files. Now, because I'm here, I can add documents. I can go and navigate and browse all the way through this particular site. I can choose individual documents. I can choose entire document libraries. So if I go into documents, I can choose a folder, for example. Okay. But we're going to leave it nice and simple. We're just going to use policies. We've then got our behavior. So you can see that we've got our welcome message. We've got our starter prompts. Okay. Now I'm going to change a starter prompt here. So these are like examples. So when a user opens up an agent, we've got a starting point for us to educate them really about what this agent might be able to do. So I'm going to put a starter prompt in here. What are our standard working hours? All right, just as one starter prompt. And you can see on the right-hand side, this is actually being done live. All right. I'm going to leave it like that. And I'm just going to hit save. And that agent literally has now been created. So I'm going to close that. I've now got my Copilot Policy Agent. I've got my starter prompts, okay? And I'm going to click my starter prompt and I will hit send. So rather than a user coming to this site, or if you're part of a HR department or responsible for policies, procedures, or some other type of scenario like this, then a user can come and then have a conversation with this new employee that we've just created, this new digital employee. Okay, so rather than searching, we're changing habits here and we're getting answers instead of having to open up files, look for something and then close it. We haven't found it. We'll open up another one. Now I can get an answer from a question. All right. Now, what about we continue this conversation? All right. So do we have any performance reviews? Do we have performance reviews? I'm new to this company. I don't know. All right. So again, because this agent is grounded, I'll reiterate again, it's grounded in just these documents in this library. It's not going out and looking at Teams chats or other documents. It's just looking at these policies. All right. So we can see here, it's giving me the answers that I'm looking for directly from our document called Performance Review Process. Okay. So again, that's got me the right answers straight away, just from natural language. All right. Super easy to create inside of SharePoint. I created that one based on an entire document library, but you can bunch and group and select certain files from different locations and build agents around or ground those agents in that knowledge. So just as an example here, if I wanted to create an agent on leave, I could select 2 documents here. I could click create agent, and then all of a sudden I've got an agent that's built just on those 2 documents. So think of a massive long compliance manual or an employee handbook or something like that that is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages long. You could create an agent that is grounded just on that content, and then a user can actually literally talk to that document, not have to read through it, not have to do anything like that, just get the answers that they want. So SharePoint agents are more for that first spectrum around the retrieval-based agents. If we move outside of SharePoint now and we move into, well, this has kind of changed names a little bit. So this is now Copilot Studio Lite. It used to be called Agent Builder. So I'm in Microsoft 365 Copilot in the web experience here. So we can see on the left-hand side, we've got our search, we've got our chat, and we've got this section here that we call agents. Now, left-hand side again, I've got a number of different agents here. I've also got, and if you do have a license, we'll have and the settings are correct and everything's hunky-dory, we can click on Create Agent. Now, that brings up this user experience, and we're going to come back to this because we're going to create an agent shortly. So we can describe it, we can configure it. I'm just going to flick over to configure for a minute. You can see, again, we go back to the anatomy of an agent. It's got a name, it's got a description, it's got instructions, super important, and it's got knowledge. So the knowledge is where we feed in sources that we want this agent to be grounded in. And again, it's not searching outside of this knowledge. We're actually giving it the knowledge to become that subject matter expert. Now, if I flick over to this agent that I call the red pen, and I'm going to edit this agent. Now we can see it's got a name, it's got an icon, it's got a description, it's got some pretty complex instructions here. It's got some algorithms, it's got a traffic light system, it's got a 15-point checklist. So this actually is taking the task of a human and making it a lot easier and a lot quicker for an employee to do this task, because this agent is grounded or has been given the compliance manual as its knowledge. When a user wants to compare or check or verify a document against this compliance manual, the agent is going to go through 15 checks. And it's going to do that extremely quickly. So a statement of advice is something that a financial advisor puts together. These have to be compliant. So what this agent can do is I can say, can you review and compare the SOA document? And I've linked to that document. So I've referenced that /reference brings up documents that you've got access to that you can add to this agent. I want to check it for compliance issues. And that's all I need to say, because in the back end of that, in those instructions, I've instructed how I want this agent to behave. So I'm going to hit send. Now, normally in this example, a person and an employee would have the SOA up, they'd have the compliance manual up, and they'd be doing a manual verification check. Now you can see that this agent gives me an exec summary. It's done its 15-point check. It's giving me an overall compliance score. And I've got a traffic light system here that's presented to me in a table telling me which of these areas are non-compliant, which ones are compliant, which ones need a little bit of work. I also get an evidence appendix. And if I keep scrolling down, I've got a remediation plan to make sure that I know what to do as next steps to get this document up to 100% compliance. Because at the moment we're looking at a 41 out of 100, right? So it's pretty ordinary at the moment, all right? So we need to do some work. But what this agent does is radically reduce that process. It's done that in 15 seconds. So that's a task that this agent is responsible for. Now, let me just drag this down. If we move now to a different type, or different but similar. So this agent, again, made inside of Agent Builder is what's called an invoice approval agent. Now, if I pop into edit mode here, you can see, again, I've got some instructions, but they're not as complex as the other one. So I give, and it's a good idea to give the agent a role or a purpose. So you can see here, I'm telling the agent, you're an invoice approval agent. Your role is to guide users through the organization's official invoice approval process. I tell it what the knowledge and the grounding is. All right, so you can see here, your authoritative source is that document. Now I have linked to that document and I've added that document and referenced it by name as a knowledge source for this agent. All right. Now, if I scroll down, you can see that I also do have what we call starter prompts or suggested prompts. Now, these are a little bit different to what we saw in the SharePoint one. We can be a little bit more detailed in these prompts. So if I jump back into the agent, you'll notice that I've got these cards here. So I might be a manager, or part of my role might be to approve invoices. So if I have a look at this prompt here, an invoice for this amount has been given to me for approval. I don't know what to do. What's the matrix? What's the approval process? What do I need to validate? So rather than going out and trying to find that information, that's what the role of this agent is, right? So here, based on that figure, is what I need to do. I need to ensure the invoice is all of this. I've basically got a checklist here, right? So again, what I might do is not just stop at that one-shot prompt, because we want to get out of the habit of the search and the transactional type of activities that we use with AI, right? Not just this agent, but in AI in general. We want to have that conversation. I might say, can you create a checklist for me, please? Important to say please and thank you, because that was the information. Maybe we want to have something that we can action, all right? So now what I've got is a checklist. I can then take that checklist and make sure that I'm doing and ticking everything off. It's okay in the chat, but what if we wanted to make that more collaborative? I can then take that response from this agent, move that into, or take that across into a Copilot page, and I can actually now check these off. I can have this. This is what we call a Copilot page. Now, if I'm collaborating with somebody, I can actually share this with somebody as well. So I might want to share this with somebody else that's helping me approve this massive invoice. So I could share that, because if we know what Microsoft Loop is, this is actually a Loop page. We call it a Copilot page, but it's based on Loop, right? And we've now got this checklist, right? So it's now a collaborative canvas. You'll also notice that I can export that to Word. I can open that in Word if I want a Word-based document from that. So all of a sudden, we've got an agent that's actually doing a task for me and telling me how to approach approving this agent. But then that's all well and good. What if we've got the agent? What if we've got an invoice and we want the agent to determine the invoice, what the amount is, all that sort of stuff, and based on the invoice document, tell me what I need to do. So I'm going to say an invoice has been routed to me for approval, and I'm going to actually add the invoice here. So what this agent will now do is read this document, pull out the information that's important. So here's the invoice, the format and completeness. I've got the amount, and based on the amount, it's going to determine what I need to do. You can see here that we've got some approval thresholds. So the approval amount is 58,000, and according to that matrix, this is what needs to happen. So since the invoice is above 50,000, it must be escalated beyond me to the budget holder or the procurement lead based on our matrix. We've got our escalation triggers and we've got our final checklist before approval. We've also got some relevant links here as well. All right. So again, another example of a task-orientated type of agent that rather than just retrieving information, it's actually helping us do a particular task. All right. Without needing to go and find and ask and do all that type of thing as well. Now, the next type of agent we're going to have a look at is, again, built in Agent Builder or Copilot Studio Lite, but this is more around the creation of things. So, and again, when I'm going through these agents, just think about the scenario, the scenario that this is. So this scenario is creating a document. So creating a document based on a template. So it doesn't necessarily have to be proposals or scoping type of activities. It can be any type of process that is required for. All right. So if I take a quick look at the setup of this. So the setup of this is that I've got a template. There's my document template, and it's a project scope document template. If I open that up, it's a really blank document. It's got our headings, it's got our structure that I want every single proposal to follow. I've then also, because context is super important, I've also got a number of example proposals here that I want this agent to use for context when writing additional proposals. So if I go back to my proposal writer here, if I quickly have a look at the anatomy of this agent. Again, I've got my instructions. I'm telling what to do. It's going to guide the user through the process. It's going to always prompt the user for the company or client name. It's going to request to add any or all reference documents. So what I'm going to do is I've just had a meeting with a customer. I've got the scope. I've got the requirements. I've taken my notes. I've got the minutes, and I'm going to feed that into this agent to generate a proposal. Now, if I scroll down to the bottom here, this time I've actually got the template and I've got the additional documents here that I've added as context. Context, again, really, really important. A lot of times more important than what the prompt is. The more context we can give to the AI or any agent, the better the response is going to be. So if I jump back to my agent, I am going to say, I want to create a new proposal for a client called Horizon Fitness. Just had a meeting with them, okay? And this agent's going to guide me through the process, and it's actually going to create a proposal for me, all right? So it's going to ask me for more information. So I've got more information. Here is all the info you need. And again, I'm going to, actually this time, what we're going to do is we're going to use and we're going to attach a cloud file. So what we can do with attaching cloud files is we can navigate to sites. So I'm in my site and I'm going to go to my documents. I'm going to go to my proposals. Here's my meeting notes and minutes that I've downloaded from and I've grabbed from a transcript of the meeting from a Teams call, and I'm going to add that in. Let's send that. So now this agent's going to look at the template. It's going to look at the information in the meeting. Here's what it's going to include. There's my sections. It's asking me some clarifying questions. I'm just going to say, just go ahead.
So you've added documents from SharePoint so far, I believe. You can also, can you also add things from outside the Microsoft ecosystem, like something someone shared it with you on Google or it's come through via an email? Can you just upload documents in addition to looking them up?
You can upload them from your device, and I will show you that in just a second. So now, based on the information that I've got from a meeting, based on my project scope doc template, this agent has written this statement, this proposal and statement of work for me. Now, I'd obviously want to go and review that, add some more information. For example, I probably would like, I think we need an intro paragraph or two for each section. And I'm going to say, please, because it was just bullet points. Now, this is probably something I would go back into the agent instructions and tell the agent to do. So I wouldn't have to do that. But this is, again, just going back and iterating over what we're doing. So let's see if it's listened to me. So we've got a scope of works. It's giving me some intros, and that looks pretty good. And then what I would do is write that entire proposal out. But that's in the chat window, right? So that's on the screen. Then what I would need to do is actually just go over to Word and copy and paste it. Ideally, and we can do this now, is we would come into proposals and we would go new. I've got a proposal template here. This is branded, it's got a footer, it's got logos, it's got everything that you have in your document. So there's my document. Now we can interact with this agent in the side panel of Word. So we could do exactly the same thing. I can @mention, and this is, we've got this concept of vibe working. So this is kind of vibe working. If you're a coder or you're a dev, you would have heard of the terminology. You might even do it yourself of vibe coding. This is kind of vibe working. So I need to create a proposal for Horizon Fitness. Here is the relevant details, and I'm going to upload my document exactly the same way, right? So I'm going to attach a file. Now, if you wanted to upload a file, see how I can upload images and files. So if you've got this on a desktop, or you've got files on a desktop and they're not in SharePoint, you can upload them into the chat. You can do exactly the same thing if I go back to my agent inside the knowledge as well. So if I go to edit and your files aren't in SharePoint, you can upload them directly into the agent as knowledge without them being inside a SharePoint. So I can upload from this device, I can browse to my downloads or wherever it is, and then I can upload it to the knowledge of this agent. But if that document gets updated, you'd need to re-upload a new document or a new version of that doc. With these ones, I just need to go into SharePoint, update the documents, and then those documents, once they get indexed by SharePoint, and we're reliant on SharePoint indexing there, then these documents would get updated as well. So I'm going to quickly grab that, the meeting notes that I've got, right? So I've got my meeting notes. I'll go into proposals. I'll go into my meeting notes. Here's the transcript, and let's go. All right. So this would allow me to then build this document out. All right, so here it is. Next step. Now, I want to work section by section because I want to insert this. I want to work. So again, I'm just going to talk to my proposal writer here. I want to work section by section, starting with section 1. So what this proposal writer is going to do is it's going to now write the first section. All right, maybe. Maybe it didn't get the meeting note. So let's upload this. Let's just do this one more time. All right. So I'm going to attach. I'm going to browse. I'm going to go to my documents. Where are my meeting notes? Inside this folder here. Here they are. So we can build out section by section. There's the first section, and I can click this little plus, and I can insert that directly into my document, and then I can build this out section by section. I can iterate on it if I need to. I could even, maybe I don't like this, right? So I might say, let's draft with Copilot. I want to make this more formal. All right. So now this is drafting a rewrite. I've got 3 options. Now this is outside of the agent. This is Copilot in Word. All right. This one looks better. Let's replace that. So now I've just replaced that single section. So as we build this out, you can see how we're actually not being transactional. We're being dynamic. We're talking to our agent. We're getting the information that we need. We're getting the structure. You can see it's building out ready to build out the next section, section 2, and then we can just build this out side by side and iterate as we build this. Now, I am conscious of time, so I've got 2 more agents that I want to showcase here. Now, the next agent is I'm going to jump into what we call Copilot Studio. Now, if you go to copilotstudio.microsoft.com, you'll be presented with this type of environment. Now, this is the next level of our agent building. Now, what I'm going to show here is that we can create an agent that actually uses what we call triggers and what we actually call tools. So we can call on different tools to do different things. Now, this agent here, now if you're part of a marketing team or doing some competitor analysis or research or things like that, this might be something that would be right up your alley. So what this is going to do is I've actually created a custom connector here to an external API. Now, this external API is using a service called Firecrawl. This is going to allow me to enter a URL. It's going to scrape that URL, get the information, get the title, get the summary, get the tags, and then also call another tool to add a row into an Excel spreadsheet. Now, I've got 3 bullet points here that are my instructions. I want it to scrape the URL, and I want it to get the title, the summary, the tags, and the URL. I want to add a row to a table, and if there's no values, just say no values. That's all I'm going to do. Now, I believe there's some technical people around in this audience. What you may also notice here is that this agent model is actually using Claude, so Anthropic. In Copilot Studio, we have the ability here to change what LLM model we use. So I have changed this model over to Claude Sonnet 4.5. You can see that we've got GPT-5 here, auto, and also GPT-5 reasoning. So if your agents need to do some deep research or some deep reasoning, we can change what model that agent uses, which is extremely, extremely, extremely powerful. Okay. So all I need to do is, now that I've got my instructions, if I find a URL, and I'm just going to jump into and open up a URL here. I'm going to grab this URL. Now I'm going to stay in the test scenario here. So I've got a test pane over on the right-hand side. Now this is live, and it always concerns me that this isn't going to work, but I've tested this many times. Come on. Okay, so I'm going to pass in a URL. I don't need to give it anything else. That's all I need to do. Now, the idea here would be you'd run this on a schedule, right? So you'd run this once a day, once a week, and you'd go and scrape a website, get some information, and then do something with it. So you can see here, this is looking good. I've got the title, I've got the summary, I've got my tags, and I've got URL. Now it knows that its next step is to add a row to a table. So you can see in the activity map, I've scraped the URL, I've got the information, I've added the row to the table, and we should be good. Now, if I open up my spreadsheet here, that is amazing. That there has just added, now one was from a previous test, but that has now added, just to show that I'm not lying. Let's grab another one, right? So let's grab this client alert. So I'm going to grab another URL. I'm going to copy this. All I'm going to do, again, I'm just going to refresh my test, and I'm going to paste that URL in, and Go.
So what was the use case behind this? Because it seems to me to be very useful because people working in IT have to be across constant changes of products, legislation, requirements, to just stay on top of stuff and get a summary from like CRN or ARN or somewhere like that. That would be very helpful rather than having to read the whole thing all the time.
It certainly would, because what you can do, and the use case here is for competitive analysis as well, right? So
Yeah.
this is getting, and you can see that's just done there live, right? So that's just added that row number 4 from that URL. Now, another use case to be a little bit meta here is you could have a Copilot agent that is reading just this document here. So every day it scrapes something from somewhere. And a good scenario, a good use case here is to generate content. So if you're a content writer, if you go and scrape the latest news website for the latest news for your industry, get all that knowledge, and then one of these tools could actually be for the agent based on the summaries, write an article on that particular topic. Right. So that could be an entire process. Go and look at CRN for the latest news, pass that to another tool here to actually go and write a blog article or a series of blog articles or some tweets or a LinkedIn post or something like that based on that scraped content. And that can
or
be
update
done
for your sales team, for example, if they wanted to appear current to have good information.
Yep, that could be an end-to-end process. Before you hit publish, everything's done for you. Okay.
Excellent.
Really powerful. Now, you may have seen also that we can add triggers. So we can add triggers here, right? So on a recurrence, so I could add this trigger and say, right, do this every single day, once a day. Let's run that. Now, we need to add a couple of things in here to read maybe from a spreadsheet or something like that to get some URLs to go and scrape, but that could happen automatically for us. And that would be what we call an autonomous agent. Okay. All right. How are we going for time? We've got 5 minutes. Let's see.
5 minutes. I've just got a question, I think.
Sure.
This is from Terry. Is this agent using tokens or messages? If so, how do we know how many?
We've only got 4 minutes and I can't explain that in 4 minutes, but I will follow that up with you and give you an answer.
Thanks for the question, Terry. Sorry. We'll get back to you.
Okay, let's see if we can build an agent in 2 minutes, right? So I'm going to go to configure. I've clicked create agent. I'm going to go to configure. We're going to, and I'm going to cheat. All right, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to choose this. So we're going to create a HR agent called Benefits Buddy. All right, so we're going to give it a name and we'll give it a description, something I've prepared earlier, and my instructions. So you can see here, I've got my purpose. I've got the instructions for the agent, how I want it to respond, right? Now, we need to give it some knowledge, all right? So this is where we can attach and include knowledge from different sources. So I'm going to include all of these documents from the plan summaries and policies. I'm going to select all of these. I'm then also going to add some more. So I'm going to go to another document library, same site, different document library. Here's my how-to guides. And then I'm going to also add another library in here that we have called forms and templates. Let's select that. Now, I also have the instructions for this agent that I've got actually some more detailed instructions for this agent that I've actually got written out in a Word document. So let's have a look at this document here. These are my instructions. So you may notice up here that I've got here, always follow the guidance in the SharePoint document benefits agent instructions.docx. So I've got a long document of what I want this agent to do in a document rather than adding this into the instructions in this window. Okay, that way I can update that document and it's going to update the instructions. All right, so I've added my knowledge, I've added my instructions, I've added my description, title, etc. I'm going to hit create. All right, so that is now creating this agent for me. Now let's give this a test. So once this is created, let's go to this agent. Here it is here, sitting on my side panel. I'm going to pin it to my agent list. Let's say I just started here. Can you tell me about the health benefits? All right. So again, because I've grounded it in the right documents, it's going to get those documents for me and hopefully give me the right answer. But it'll also tell me where it got that response from. So the citations, and then we can go and actually read the content if we wanted to as well. Okay, so it's given me a nice little welcome message as well, because it's the context. I've fed it. I'm talking to it, right? So here's our medical plan, here's our dental plan, here's our vision plan. And what about, I want to add my partner. What's the process for adding my partner to this, right? So again, I'm just conversing with this agent, right? It's got a lot of information. It's got all of our forms and our processes, templates, and all the information I need to get what I need, to get the answers that I need. All right. So here is all of the information as well. All right. So 3 minutes. There we go. That's a really quick creation of a HR benefits agent that's grounded in all of our important documents as well.
Amazing.
That was a whirlwind. Now, I'm going to leave it there. We are out of time. I'm happy to stay around, and if there are any questions or anything like that, more than happy to field any of those. If you want to have a look at, and this is up to you, Claire, if you want to have a look at an autonomous agent, then I'm more than happy to walk through that and have a look at that.
Thank you.
If people want to hang around.
Would it be okay if you were able to share the presentation? I know you might have PTSD from earlier, but if
I can.
Just so I can go through our special offer.
Absolutely. Well, I can share this. Can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you. I'll be quick in case it drops off.
Let me move to the last slide. There it is. Off
Yay.
you go.
Thank you. So now that we've seen some awesome examples of how we can make our lives and our people's lives easier with agents, I'm sure we're all really keen to give it a go ourselves. So if you want to go in and create a Copilot agent using, I think was it Copilot Studio Lite? Was that a free version, Daniel?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yep. So you don't have to have a license.
You don't have to have a license for that, but you are limited in what you can do with that.
Well, we will take that into account when judging. If you want to create your own agent, what we'll be looking for is one that demonstrates a clear business impact, shows potential for a certain level of scaling, and connects to a data source like we saw. Send us a screen grab of your description and instructions and knowledge, like Daniel showed us earlier in Copilot Studio. Then you could win one of 2 Copilot licenses kindly donated by Crayon. Thank you, Crayon. So I'm really excited to see what you come up with.
That's a good prize. Questions.
I know.
Can I enter?
You are disqualified. Oh, love to see the autonomous if people are sticking around. Look, I have no objection if anyone's...
Yeah, look, I'm more than happy to jump into that. If people want to hang around. You can keep the recording going. So if you need to leave, then feel free to leave, and you can watch it on replay.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate the extra bonus round.
That is okay. All right. Well, let's just jump in, hey. All right. So I'm going to now. We need to make sure we're in Copilot Studio with this. So if I go back to my agents, I've got this agent here that is called, well, it's called Financial Product Support Agent. So what this agent is going to do, and again, the anatomies of all of these agents are fairly similar. We've got a name, we've got a title, we've got a description, we've got instructions. Now, the great thing about Copilot Studio is that we get more capabilities and more granular control. So this particular agent, I have uploaded into the knowledge documents. Now, these documents aren't living in SharePoint. So these are files that don't change, right? So these are indexed and these are stored for those the technical people on the call. These are stored in Dataverse, right? So I've uploaded these and you can see that these statuses are ready and they're indexed pretty much straight away. When we're using files or documents out of SharePoint as knowledge sources, then we're reliant on the indexing process of SharePoint to be able to index those. Now, we don't have any control over that, unfortunately. Now, what we can see here in the instructions is that this agent's actually just going to wake up automatically when this trigger happens. So when a new email arrives in an inbox, you can see here, when an email arrives in an inbox that has this title. So think of the scenario where you might have a shared mailbox, forms or things coming in from your website off web forms or anything like that. We can have a trigger. Now, if I click add a trigger, let's have a look and see what we can do. So these are just featured ones. So you can see when a file is created, and these will look very, very familiar to you if you're familiar with the Power Platform or Power Automate, for example. So when files are created in SharePoint, when a new form is submitted via Microsoft Forms, when a new channel message is added, that would get kind of hectic. But if I go to all, you can see that we've got a stack of different pre-built triggers or connectors that we can use. We've got Power BI, we've got Planner, we've got SharePoint, we've got Teams, we've got Outlook, we've got lots of different options here, as well as third-party applications and services if we're using those as well. We've got Basecamp, we've got lots of things. So when something happens in that system, this agent is going to wake up. Now, in this scenario, the agent's going to wake up when a new email arrives that's coming from a website asking for product knowledge or product information. Then it's going to send an email. Now, you'd probably want to maybe create a draft before sending it or that type of thing. But if I click add a tool, again, I've got a billion different tools that I can call and do something and do a task. I've even got what we call MCP servers, which I won't go into. That's a whole session in itself. But we've got lots of different things that we can do. If you're a Salesforce organization, then we've got the capabilities to do a stack of things in Salesforce. We can send, we can update, we can create records, we can do or automatically interact with third-party applications. Or you can create your own custom connectors. It's just a custom Power Platform connector. So what I'm going to do is I am going to have a look and see if I've got something to test with. I do. So I've got an email that's come in to this inbox, and let's just hit, I'm going to stay in the testing pane here. So what you can see on the right-hand side is the agent. Now, you wouldn't see this because it's an autonomous agent. This would just run without a chat interface, basically, because it would just work. All right. So you can see that the email's arrived. It's looked, and I've got my activity map. It's looked at the knowledge sources, and it's actually sent the email. So if I jump across to Frankie, who sent the email, I think, here is the response. Here's the email that's come in, right? So we can see that is the response and the email that was generated and sent back, right? So it's picked up 1, 2 products from our product suite because he's requested information about a superannuation product. It's got the key features, main risks, and who it's suited for, because we instructed the agent in the instructions here. For each product, please provide the key features, risks, and who the product is suited for. And please also suggest they can call the product support specialist, etc. And I'm telling the agent what to do. All right. So that is all based and done. Let me just use this one as well. So that is all done automatically. So that's just going to sit there. The agent will wake up when that trigger occurs. Now, it could be multiple triggers. It doesn't have to be just emails. It could be lots of different things. Okay. And I've just heard that ding, and I'm going to open up Frankie's email inbox. There's the first one that came in from the first request. There's the second request. All right. So this one here, hello, Frankie. It's got two examples, and that's just sent that back automatically for me. Now, this one here also, I've got a link to book a call. So if you've got Microsoft Bookings or something like that that's set up, you could actually instruct or add to the add to the instructions of this agent to insert that link into the response as well. All right. So that is all triggered or run by these two things down here called tools and triggers. All right. If we wanted to go a little bit of a step further, then we can also now have what we call multi-agent orchestration. Now, we haven't got time to go through that now, but we could also add sub-agents to this master agent. So at the start of the call, I was talking about how it's a good idea to have multiple smaller based agents that are more subject matter experts. This is exactly the scenario that we would want here. So think of a HR onboarding process, which is made up of multiple different steps. It could be generating the employment pack. It could be creating the IT account. It could be sending a document for signature via DocuSign. They would all be specific child agents that would be added here, and then we can call those in the instructions. So we would say step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and once they're complete, it would then go on to the next agent. All right, so you can get really, really complex with what we can do with these agents with tools, triggers, and agents inside of an agent that's built inside of Copilot Studio as well. All right, but that's an example of an autonomous agent.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that additional option.
That's okay. I'll pause there. If there are any questions or anything like that, feel free to jump in. I can't see the chat or anything. Oh, actually, I can see the chat.
Yeah, I can. There's we have with Jason, with these kinds of automated agents, are there any safeguards against prompt injection attacks, or do we need to provide detailed instructions for the agent to ignore prompts with an email it is passing, for example?
Yes. Well, if it's email based, I would never do what I just did. It would always be human verified first. So whether it's a draft or something like that, I would generally always have that instead. But yes, I've even seen people create a verification process as a tool as well. So inside as a tool, it's got to run through a checklist or a process before anything happens.
That was a really good question, Jason. Thank you. I'm going to turn our cameras on so we can say goodbye.
I will stop sharing my screen and I think I can see. Yes, there we go. Hello.
This has been such a great session. Thank you, everybody, for your patience with our tricky PowerPoint issues earlier, and thank you for sticking with us, Daniel. This has been such an interesting session. I'm sure everyone's got a lot out of it. So thank you to you, and thank you to Crayon and Microsoft for also participating in the creation of the webinar.
Yes, thanks. Thanks everybody for turning up. Yeah, sorry about the technical things that we had to go through earlier. But if you do have any questions, feel free, reach out to Claire. Look, it's a huge area. An hour is obviously not long enough. And look, there's lots of potentials as well that hopefully those types of scenarios help you sort of unlock some thought processes around what you can potentially use some agents for.
Yeah, I hope we've got some great inspiration. So I will send through details of our competition, including what's required, where to send it, all those sorts of things, what the deadline is, which is the 24th of October. And you shall receive that in your inbox in a couple of days. So thanks again, everybody. And thank you, Daniel.